great to be here. This will definitely inflate my sense of self-importance. It's good to have you here as well. So, I like this guy right here, Rafael. On those who enter the same rivers, ever different waters flow. On those who enter the same rivers, ever different waters flow. Now he's fascinating because for him, life is all about flux. It's all about change. So change is all there is. That's why he's my favorite philosopher. And I know how nerdy this sounds like when you say how favorite philosopher, but he is. And I'm fascinated with his work because he used to say that reality is changing, so we should learn how to change. Think about, for example, why we are here tonight, all of you and myself. So, this picture was taken in 1986 in a little town called Ibaté, 350 kilometers from São Paulo in Brazil. Obviously, I am the muscular, shirtless guy. Right next to me is my brother. As you can see, he's not as strong as I am. But think about that. I was there, and I'm here. So if a tiny little thing in my childhood, or my teenagehood, or in your life, had gone any differently, or a small thing tonight, like a flat tire, or a delayed bus, and we would not have the same configuration that we have in this room right now, with this 100 brains and 200 eyes syncing with me right now. So that's his point. Life is changing. So the series of change culminated with me being here tonight with you in this room. So for me, learning how to change is one of the most powerful things that you can do with your life, because it will change. But it's hard, isn't it? It's really hard. You know, I talk to my students, clients, friends, and people usually have a hard time changing. It's not easy. Think about, for example, New Year's resolution. Shall we? New Year's Eve, you're happy, and people are happy around you, and you're thinking, okay, this year, New Year in the horizon, I'm going to lose those 10 pounds, quit smoking, eating healthier, I'm going to study more. So what you do is, let's go with the gym. So you buy a new water bottle. New clothes, go to the gym. Go to the treadmill, velocity 12. After 2 minutes, you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? What kind of sadistic pleasure is this? And where is the oxygen? So, and the next day is nothing but pain. You're walking like a penguin. And you feel like going up a set of stairs like climbing the freaking Everest. So next week, instead of going 4 times a week as planned, you go 3. And you think, 3 out of 4, it's not the end of the world, is it? It's pretty good. And then the week after that, you're down to 2. Still, and you're thinking 4 times a week. What was I thinking? I know, but come on, man. And then slowly, it just fades away. Your entire objective just fades away. And to some people, it's amazing how we I'm a psychologist, so I'm fascinated with what we do as humans. So somehow you think, there's always next time. You know what this is called? This actually has a name. This is called a false hope syndrome. It's a term coined by Janet Polivy and Peter Herman. So you actually trick yourself into thinking that you made some progress, and there's always next year, there's always next Monday, there's always next month. So can pat yourself in the back for progress. So, you're actually not alone. Do not feel bad. As a matter of fact, based on the research, an average person tends to repeat the same resolution over and over, an average of 10 times. And even those who succeed, when they get through, it's an average of 5 to 6 times, the same resolution. Now I know, some of you may be thinking, yeah, but they don't have the will power to change. I do, I can make stuff happen. I agree to some extent, but let's look what scientific evidence tells us, shall we? This is my researcher side. The actual intention of changing accounts only for 28% of the actual changing of behaviors. This is from Professor Pascal Chiuzi, by the way. Where there's will, there's power. It is true. What they didn't tell you is just 1/3 of what you really need. So where's the rest? I mean, what else do we need? So, as an organizational psychologist, I've dedicated many years of my life researching and helping organizations to change. That's what I like to do. And I realized that those organizations who actually succeed in changing, they do so by following a relatively simple pattern of actions and behaviors, which I'm about to share with you tonight. And the trick here is, I believe they are highly applicable to any change that we face in our lives, individually. So the secret here is, I'm going to try to present in a concise manner, so I'm hashtagging the whole thing, because it's easier. And this is how people communicate right now, right? Isn't it? Apparently. Even presidents. So, you've got to remember, the trick here is, you've got to get them all going at the same time, because they are interdependent. Okay? So the first tip is avoid the treadmill. And by treadmill, I don't mean the physical one. So if you're actually trying to lose weight, go for the treadmill. But by treadmill here means too much planning, too little action. So you're there, you're planning, like running on a treadmill, you're not getting anywhere. And I've seen countless organizations making the same mistake. They spend thousands of dollars planning, preparing, assessing, reassessing. When they finally are ready to action, employees go, well, I thought we decided not to move forward with that. But we're still changing. You see, psychologically, you trick yourself into think that by planning, you're already changing, which is not true. So it gives you comfort. Yes, I'm changing. Look at my spreadsheet. Well, that's not going to do any good if you don't act. So the first tip is, avoid the treadmill. Planning is good. Planning is necessary. But if you don't tie into any sort of action, you don't make change visible. So start by avoiding the treadmill. Do some planning, but act as well. Good? The second point is, what is your story? And here, we're talking about stories here. What is your story for change? Organizations that are really successful in conducing change management processes, they are really good at crafting the right narrative. The stories, and I know that people tend to undermine or underestimate the power of stories, but they help us to connect the dots. Stories help us shaping the why for change. In an organizational setting, they help leaders to give sense to the change, to create the urgency. They do so by telling good stories. So what is your story for change? Because with us individually, your story helps you understand and create sense. Why am I doing all this? Why am I demanding so much of myself? So this story helps you to create internal consistency. Think about Frank, for example. Frank is a guy I met at the gym. He recently joined the gym. Mid-60s, soft-spoken guy, and you look at him, you can clearly see he is not the active type of guy. And he joined the gym after having a heart attack. And the one thing he could think about when he was rushing to the hospital in an ambulance was how he wanted to spend more time with his family. Especially Sophia, his granddaughter. Soon enough, in the gym, everybody heard the story, and people got involved in Frank's health. His friends, the instructors, even the receptionist, she would call to check up on Frank when he skipped a day. So stories help us understand why we're doing this. And sometimes you have to retell the story over and over in order to create sense. So what is your story for change? Which brings me to my next point. Change is all about momentum. It's all about momentum. And momentum is, that energy to get you out of the inertia, just to get you going. And at the right time, you can speed the process. Now, I've seen organizations make the mistake of going too hard at the change, too hard and too fast. Employees feel lost, desperate, not to mention angry. They get frustrated. And there's a reason why sometimes we do that as humans. This is called a all or nothing bias. So we believe in order to change, we have to go full throttle, all in, or we're not doing anything. So it's all or nothing. And that is not entirely true. Sometimes, I gotta say, it could be, but it's the exception, not the norm. So I have this rule when I'm doing change management processes in organizations, the 25-50-25 momentum rule. Which means, basically, imagine that instead of going full throttle, like going to the gym 4 times a week, after 5 years doing nothing, instead of going full throttle, you start at 25. Imagine like you could drive your change like you drive a new car, and you're learning. So you start at 25. 25 is good, it's comfortable. Get used to the lights, the noises. Once you are comfortable in your skin, then you can speed it up. And then you can see some progress. Now you're cruising. Now you're seeing things happening. Now in an organization, the remaining 25 means now you have to make change stick. And there are actions for that. In our personal lives, the 25 means now you are at a new level. We're comfortable for trying new things. So you don't start at 90. You don't start at 100. It is too much. It's too disruptive. And chances are, you can't abandon your campaign because you just can't handle it. It's overwhelming. So remember, momentum is about creating that favorable scenario for change. It's like a wave. And then we can learn as we go. This gives us time to adapt and reflect about the change. Another point is, it's not always smooth sailing, as you know. And if there's one thing that we are really good at it, is resisting. We do that tremendously well. And complaining. We're good at complaining as well. It's so good to complain sometimes, isn't it? Just rolling your eyes like, oh. Yeah, we're good at that. It gives us a sense of we're doing something. So if there's one thing that you can count on is that there will be resistance. Now, in corporations, we can actually map them out by department, by level, by geographic dispersion. We can find the pockets of resistance. But the one mistake that some leaders make, they go and they feel like they should extinguish resistance. Let's strangle resistance and fire the people that are not on board. That is not just a good approach. Instead of strangling resistance, you should learn from it. Because there are some people giving voices to some concerns, and it is your obligation as a manager, as a leader, to listen to them. You know, unlike many people think, people do not resist the change itself. They resist what is associated with the change. Because deep down, we know that, especially in business, we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to evolve. What I don't like is having to deal with a new boss. What I don't like is when you make me work somewhere else in a different location. That I don't like. So that's the thing. The trick here is you've got to learn from it so you can design the right solution. Now, individually, this resistance may come from external sources. Especially if you're involved in one of those toxic relationships. What happens when one person gets better in the relationship? The other one will try to drag you down. They will resist. Because you getting better means I'm staying behind. So the resistance will come. They will try, some people will actually try to sabotage your change effort. Now the good news is, when it's external, you can see it and you can make some decisions. Like, dump the old boyfriend, let's find a new one. But there's one piece of resistance that is very, very tricky, and it's intrinsic. It is right here, and that's the one that you should actually manage really well. Sometimes this resistance will be your brain telling you how tired you are, so don't go today. It's just one day. Another day could be, your brain is telling you, look at that red velvet cake. You should definitely, it's just one slice, man. You deserve it. Listen, you had a hard day. You deserve it. I deserve it. And all of a sudden, you're talking to yourself. Oh, I deserve this. What am I thinking? Am I a slave now? So that's also resistance. Yeah, and we do that. It's easy to slip. So one thing you should do is you map those thoughts. Learn from them. Actually write them down and learn the patterns, when and how it happens. Another thing is manage the chessboard. That's a conversation I have with leaders when we're doing change processes. That means involving the right stakeholders at the right time, doing the right thing. Are we doing a town hall meeting for this department? Are we celebrating with another change agent department? Are we sending this type of communication to the employees? Now, in your personal lives, you have your chessboard, but instead of managers and supervisors, you have wives, husbands, friends, cousins. And you would be surprised how much people can help you in your change initiative if you just let them. What I'm trying to say is, change process doesn't have to be a lonely process. To involve your family. That's what Frank did. Now everybody's involved in Frank's health. So, manage your chessboard. And finally, change is only meaningful if it lasts. So you have to make changes, that you have to draw a plan. Because it's a daily battle. It's a daily battle. Recently I had a chat with the CEO of the company. He said the company did pretty well on the transformation program. 2 years, solid result, great numbers. And he said to me, I don't know when or how, we're back in the old mindset. It happened, it slipped. With us, it's the same thing. So you have to be mindful of liberating new space for the new you when you are changing. That means sometimes you will change the way you speak. You will change your clothes. You will change your schedule. And you have to give yourself time until the new you kicks in. Either if you're finding a new job or quitting smoking or going to the gym more often. So give space. Now, remember, you are always changing. Those who enter the same rivers, ever different waters flow. Now tonight, this theater right here was your river. And pay attention to this, because of what you learned, what you thought. Your brains are actually changing as we speak. You're interpreting things differently. So hopefully, because of this river, you will walk out that door